All rational equations, it's kind of it has steps, just like how to add and subtract had steps. And here they are, they're listed, okay? The first thing that you want to do is you want to find the least common denominator. That's what we did for the problem of the day, okay? That was your practice. Once you figure out what your least common denominator is, you need to multiply each side by the least common denominator, okay? Use distributive property, simplify, also in that step you can say solve, and then always check for extraneous solutions. You guys remember what extraneous solutions are? What are they?
Solution that doesn't work.
A solution that doesn't work. So that means that once I find my values, I'm going to have to do what?
Makes it undefined. Set it to 0.
You got to plug your solution in, and then you got to make sure that the left side equals the right side. Okay? Because if it doesn't, that means it's going to be extraneous. Okay? So you have a problem that's already worked out here. Okay? You see, you have 2x, 5x, and a 2. Okay? The same process still applies. What is missing from this denominator that the other denominators have?
5.
A 5. Was this denominator missing that the other two have?
2.
A 2. Was this denominator missing that the others have?
X. 5.
And
5.
A 5. So it's missing a 5 and the x. So when you multiply all these things together, you get what?
10x.
That's how they got that lowest common denominator to 10x, okay? So the same thing that we just did for our problem today, that's your very first step. Find your lowest common denominator. Then you multiply, you distribute, you simplify, you solve, and then of course you check. Yes?
So you don't multiply the bottom?
No, because what's going to end up happening is when you multiply by your lowest common denominator, something from your lowest common denominator is going to cancel out with the bottom. And it basically going to make the entire denominators go away. Okay? So let's try one. We have one already worked out for you, but let's go ahead and let's just jump right into it, okay? So find the LCD. What is this denominator, the x, missing that the other two denominators have?
It's a 1.
An x plus 1. Remember, it has to go together. The 1 is with the x. What is the x plus 1 denominator missing that the other two have?
X.
An x. And then what's this x denominator missing that the other two have? X plus 1, which we already have. So this right here is our lowest common denominator. X times x plus 1. Okay? Now I'm going to show you this one way. The children's are doing it a different way, so we're going to post both of our videos. And so if you don't understand this way, you can watch Ms. Childress' video and see another way you can do it. Okay? There's actually a couple different ways you can do it. It's just one way. So that's the first step. Second step is to multiply each side by the lowest common denominator. So that means I'm going to multiply this left side and the right side by this. And when I do that, that means every single fraction is going to be multiplied by the lowest common denominator. Does everybody see that? Because if I multiply the entire left side, that means this fraction, 3 over x, and this fraction get multiplied by it.
Oh, you're only multiplying the top.
Okay? Now, the reason why I multiply by my lowest common denominator is because I'm trying to get rid of my denominator. This x underneath the 3 is going to cancel out with what? The x. So that means it's going to leave me with 3 times x plus 1 for this first fraction. Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
So, that intermediate step that I'm not showing is this. Because when I multiply, I always have 3x times x plus 1 all over x. You see how there's x at the top and x at the bottom? And so then they go away. So that's why we're able to end up with that. Same thing, look at the second fraction. This x plus 1 at the bottom is going to cancel out with the x plus 1 at the top. Leaving with the minus 2x. And then that's going to equal,
4x.
because the x's are going to cancel. And so basically what this turns into is a nice linear equation that hopefully you guys can solve, right? You gotta distribute,
So
okay?
why would you just forget all that, all the canceling stuff, and like, because you're gonna have an x anyway for the x plus 1 you see what I mean? Like you're trying to.
Okay? So here we go. To solve this, all we gotta do is Distribute, so this be 3x plus 3 minus 2x. Okay? Combine like terms, what's 3x minus 2x?
X.
Now what?
Subtract X.
Either way, I just gotta get x on one side, and then I gotta get my numbers on the other side.
Alright, so what?
So 3x equals a
Negative 1/3.
negative 1, and x equals a negative 1/3. There's step 4. Okay, simplify and solve. The last thing we have to do, Pam, check for extraneous solutions. So that means plug in, okay? Plug in this value for every x and make sure that the left side equals the right side. I want you guys to do that right now. I want you to do the check. You're plugging in the negative 3 in for x and making sure that the left side equals the right side. This is a solution. It's not extraneous. Okay? Let's look at the next one. My LCD. Okay? What is this denominator? Is x plus 3 denominator missing that the other ones have?
It needs
Nothing.
It needs a 1.
It needs a 1, which is 1. What about this 5? What's its denominator missing?
X plus 3.
What about this last one? Nothing. So this is my LCD. This is my lowest common denominator. So that's my first step. I find my LCD. And then my second step, I multiply everything by the LCD. So that means I multiply the first fraction by x plus 3, the second one by x plus 3, and then the last one by x plus 3. So this x plus 3 is going to cancel out with the denominator, right? Leaving with just 2x. 5 times x plus 3, because this x plus 3 doesn't cancel out anything. Okay? And then over here, B1. Okay? Solve this out. Find x and then check it. So you're going to find x and then check it. What you guys get x to be?
I got negative 16 over 3.
Very good. It should have been negative 16 over 3, okay? Make sure you carry that negative over with the 5. When you combine like terms, it's a negative 3x minus 15 equals 1. Add 15, divide by negative 3. Is this a solution or is it extraneous?
That's what I have trouble with is plugging in.
Plug it in.
I just lose like so much.
It's,
It's 7 over 3.
okay. When you add this together, what was this?
Negative 7 over 3.
You sure?
The bottom fraction is negative 7 over 3.
Okay, what's the top?
Oh boy, hang on. Negative 10.67.
Okay, so you have negative 32 over 3 divided by negative 7 over 3. Keep change flip, so it becomes negative 32 over a negative 7, which becomes a positive 32 over 7. You subtract that from 5. Subtract that from 5. What do you get? That's just that very first
0.42
fraction. You get to the fraction.
3 7.
3 sevens?
Yeah, 3 7.
Okay, that's the left side. You gotta see if it equals that. When I already did this, right? I already did negative 16 over 3 plus 3. You said it was negative 7 thirds. So I have 1 over a negative 7 thirds, which is a 3 sevenths.
Yeah.
They're both negative, but they're both negative.
Oh, this was a negative?
Yeah,
Okay, my
yeah,
mistake.
yeah.
So then they're both negative. There you go. So yes, this is a solution, okay? So you gotta just plug it back in. Just be careful. If you wanna go and resort to the whole typing into your calculator, that's fine, okay? Just be careful on how you type it in.
You can do. I don't know.
Alright, so everybody should be working on number 3, trying to figure out the lowest common denominator, multiplying, solving. What's the LCD?
Parentheses.
So when I multiply every fraction by that LCD, I'm left with a 4 times x plus 2 minus 1 times x equals 2 times what?
X. No,
X
it's
plus-
2x plus x. Yeah. 2x times x plus 2, because you're multiplying the x and the x.
But these x's cancel out. Just
Oh.
like these x plus 2's
Okay, yeah,
cancel
you're
out
saying-
and that x cancels out.
Okay, yeah.
So when you solve it, x equals what? -4. You should have gotten -4 when you worked it out. And when you plugged it in, you should have had what on the left side? And then equal, so it works out when you check it.
But what
Okay.
do you multiply?
What I have to do? Factor. What is this?
X plus 1, x minus 1.
So when I look for my lowest common denominator, what is the x minus 1 here missing? An x plus 1. What is the 3 missing? X minus 1, x plus 1, and is this missing anything? So this is my LCD. Go ahead and find x. To end up with this, we distribute 5x squared plus 5x minus, I'm gonna have to do what to those two parentheses? FOIL first before I distribute. I already know what this is when I FOIL it. What is it? Minus 1 is the same thing I got up here, okay? So when I FOIL it, I get a -3x squared plus 3 equal 2x plus 5. Combine like terms, I get 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 2x plus 5. And then to solve this,
How did you get 2x?
huh?
How did you get 2x squared?
5x squared minus 3x squared.
So I got plus 3x.
It was a negative. How do I solve this? How do I solve for x?
Yeah, you minus 2x.
Two things. I got a minus 2x.
Minus 2x.
And do something else.
And then you
Minus 5, because I need to set this equal to 0. Because what kind of an equation is this?
quadratic.
Quadratic. And I either have to factor or use quadratic formula to solve it.
Wait, what do you have to do to complete the square?
You gotta get your x's and x squares on the same side, your numbers on the other side.
Yeah.
Make your a is 1, take half of it, divide by a, take half of b squared, put it in the boxes.
A has to be 1.
My daughter said once it's school, I try not to school, but then
You wouldn't be able to take the square root of anything because it had an x there. If it was just x squared and a number, then you could do that. Okay, you factor this.
yeah.
What two numbers multiply to give you a -4, add to give you a +3?
4 negative 1. Like 4 1. 4 negative 1.
What goes on top? So when I factor this and simplify it, I get x plus 2 times 2x minus 1 equals 0.
Then you would, once you do each both of those equals 0.
You have to set both factors equal to 0. And so what is x?
X is -2 and x is 1/2.
Because you subtract 2, and then you add 1 and then divide by 2. So now let's check. Check those solutions. They both work. They both work. Yep, you gotta factor the bottom before we even try to find our lowest common denominator. So this one here, no GCF,
6 and -2.
because I'm looking for two numbers that multiply give me -12, add to give me a -4, which is -6, and +2, what goes on top? 3x. So this factors down to be x minus 2 and 3x plus 2. So what is my LCD here? X minus 2 and 3x plus 2, because the first fraction denominator is missing a 3x plus 2. The second denominator is missing an x minus 2, and this one's missing nothing. Yes?
Can you put John John?
Okay?
Okay.
And so then that's what we multiply every single fraction by. Every single fraction by x minus 2, 3x plus 2, x minus 2, 3x plus 2. With the first fraction, what cancels out? X minus 2, so I'm left with the 2x times 3x plus 2. What about the second fraction? The 3x plus 2. So I have a 4x minus 1 times an x minus 2. And you see I put those in parentheses, right? So I'm going to have to subtract that, so I got to be very careful. On this side, the whole denominator goes away, right? So I'm just left with 7x plus 4. 17x plus 4. Distribute 2x and 3x make 6x squared. 2x and 2. I'm going to FOIL first before I distribute that negative.
With the FOIL thing,
Exactly.
It's
4x times x.
4x squared.
4x times -2. -8x. And then minus 1x is a -9x. -1 and -2. Going to distribute my negative over, yes? Because 4x and -2 make -8. And then -1x make it -1x. So -8x minus 1x, -9. All I did was distribute the negative, combine my like terms.
2x squared plus 13x plus 2.
This one's very much like the other one. So what do I have to do?
You have to, you have to minus the 17 and minus the 4.
Minus the 17x and minus the 4 because they have to be equal to 0. So I have 2x squared minus 4x minus 6.
Teachers, please excuse the interruption.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to clear this board off so I can do the actual solving part. So everyone has this, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna clear it out. And I'm gonna go from the 2x squared minus 4x minus 6 equals 0. According to you guys, this can't be factored because there's a GCF of a 2. And when you factor this, the two numbers that make -3 and -2 are this. So you set every factor equal to 0. When I set 2 equals 0, that's nothing. So x is going to equal 3, and x is going to equal -1. You can do quadratic formula, but you still should get the same answer if you do quadratic formula.
I got the same answer, but I did the California thing.
Oh, it works.
Yes, they all, it's really smart kids that will work.
Do they both work?
Yes. They do.
They do? They do. Then what's the number? You don't want to ask. When I plug in 3, what do I get?
5.
5 equals 5.
5 is
And when I
5.
plug in -1, I get what? -13 over 3 equals -13 over 3. So then they both work.
I'm
Good.
gonna try to.
Okay?
I plugged in 1.